All right, we're moving on to the next one. This is going to be a slide from the Confederate side. And the person we're learning about today is this guy. So if you want to find this picture and get ready to answer some questions, I'm going to take you through who this major player is for the Confederacy. This guy's name is Jefferson Davis, and he is going to get elected president of the Confederate States of America. He's going to be the one and only president ever elected as president of the Confederate States of America. He is originally from Mississippi. He's a West Point graduate, so he was an Army officer for a short period of time. In fact, he fought in the Mexican-American War, and he fought with some distinction and some bravery. And when he got out of the Army after the war in the 1850s, he became a pretty ambitious politician. He did hope to be president of the United States someday, but obviously his career and life are going to take a different turn once the South starts to begin to secede in the 1860s. Nonetheless, during the 1850s, he does get himself elected to the U.S. Senate as a senator from Mississippi. In fact, he gets elected to it a couple of times and begins to make a pretty big name for himself politically. He's not exactly a fervent believer in slavery and states' rights or even secession, but he does. He is very proud to be from his home state of Mississippi, which is why when his state secedes and he gets the presidency of the Confederate States, he goes ahead and accepts that. He was actually the project manager for the renovation of the U.S. Capitol, which was getting to be about 100 years old at that time, getting close to being 100 years old that time. And so it was going through some major renovations, including the dome that you guys are all familiar with in the picture. That's at the top. He was overseeing the construction of the dome. Of course, once he resigns as senator of Mississippi and becomes president of the Confederate States of America, he is no longer a part of that job. He's not actually really super excited about being picked for president of the Confederate States of America because he understands he's a well-educated man who understands that in order to fight this war and win this rebellion, the Confederates are going to be faced with an enormous task. How are they going to manufacture all the war material that they need? How are they going to be able to raise revenue through taxation in order to fight a war of this magnitude? They're going to need to get foreign recognition as a legitimate government. They're going to need Britain and France and Spain and the Dutch and China and Japan to recognize the Confederates as a legitimate country, of which at the outbreak, no foreign country will recognize them as a legitimate government. So that in itself is a difficult task. He had a bit of a temper. He was an average leader, an average administrator, but he was the most politically connected individual, which is why he was asked to go ahead and accept the nomination and the election of being president of the Confederate States of America. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be on the losing end of the war. And in 1865, when the capital of Richmond, Virginia, for the Confederates falls, he has to flee the city along with his cabinet members and other members of the government. He tries to flee into North Carolina, into the woods of the Appalachian Mountains. And he's eventually surrounded and captured by U.S. Army soldiers. In newspapers throughout the North after the war is over, the false rumors are spread that Jefferson Davis was captured wearing women's clothing. He was trying to be incognito and sneak off to another part of the country where he could rally the Confederacy and fight from a guerrilla war standpoint. And those rumors, unfortunately, were not true at all. He will be tried for treason. He will serve 20 or so years in prison, in a federal prison. He'll be released when he's aged 60, 65 years old in his latter half of his life. And he will live out the rest of his life from a female admirer, a wealthy female admirer from the South who gives him a home to live in. And he will sit down and he will write his memoirs. And he'll, it's a massive, massive book. I've actually seen it, but I've never read it. But it is not only a memoir of his life, but it is very deep overview of the Confederate States of America and its history altogether. But Jefferson Davis, one of the major players in the American Civil War.